So, once you've come to that place of realizing what you don't want in your life, you can actually begin the work of building what you do want. Because intention is everything. Okay? And you have to have intent in order to create anything, even ourselves. There had to be the initial intention to want to experience, to want to create physicality, to want to leave eternity to come down and begin this journey of physicality. Whether it's here on Earth, whether it's in Andromeda, the Pleiades, Orion, it doesn't matter. They're all doing the same journey. We're just at different levels. That's all. And I can tell you that the Andromedans, which are fifth density beings, they wouldn't want to walk third density. I've given them plenty of opportunities to trade places with me. No, they weren't interested at all. Okay, not interested at all. In fact, one of the things that the first time I kind of put it out there was Morine and Phaseus looked at each other, and Morine said to Phaseus telepathically, because they're telepathic, how would we ever use money? Because they don't use money. They don't have a monetary system. It's completely, they just don't go there. Okay, so they didn't understand it. And if you've looked at some of the research, I did a presentation on money for them. Morine had asked me to do that. And after several contacts of going through this presentation, Phaseus just looked at me when it was over and he goes, I don't understand. Why do you have to pay to live on a planet you were born on? Okay? And that question still haunts me to this day. The changes that are coming are going to be nothing short of profound. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about 2012. I don't know the exact dates. I don't think anybody does, because we are still creating our future. We're creating it every day, every moment, individually and collectively. But there are some remarkable things that are coming out, not only in science, medicine, where quantum physics, and there are many wonderful speakers here at this show who are talking about that, and there are many other people out there in the world talking about these things, where they're literally proving that there is so much more to us than we've ever imagined. For a lot of you, it's like, duh, we already knew that. We've been beating that horse for years, trying to get people to come into that place, to finally get it. Okay? Well, miraculously, people are starting to get it. At least they're asking the questions, which is huge, okay? They're open to the idea of, well, maybe there is more to this. The biggest leap that the extraterrestrial races are excited about is the idea of us being open to extraterrestrial life, number one. And number two, to the idea of letting go of our dogmas. Because if we cannot let go of the dogma, we cannot embrace other possibilities. Because what we're going to find out is that many of the dogmas that we have held as cherished truths were false all along. And we have been building civilization on lies. And that's why none of it has held up. There's also a program that a gentleman by the name of Cliff High has created called Half-Past Human, WebBots. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it. I would suggest you research it. It's fascinating. And, short note, cliff notes of it, essentially what it is he has created spiders and he puts in looking for verbiage and words, and he's been able to essentially tap into the entire global internet of language. And what he's tapped into, I believe, is the subconscious of humanity, which is fascinating. It's dire, it's grim, But if you realize the conditioning we've had for Armageddon, to believe that Armageddon had to occur, that there had to be an end of the world, that there had to be a final judgment of everything we've done, then it only makes perfect sense that this would be the steps that we would take to get to that place, to prove ourselves right. The truth is, we don't have to create any of that. Okay? It's an opportunity for us to take a look at these possible scenarios and say, you know what, I don't want that. I'm done with that. Okay? I'm choosing this, and then we can start to build and create something different. And that's literally where we are as a society, as a humanity. Okay? In service to each other, we will remain free. And it's about freedom. All of this is about freedom. Free will and freedom. True liberty. Earth was never meant to be a slave planet. You were never meant to be slaves. And you should absolutely resist going there, because it is not who and what we are. I can't say it any simpler than that. Now, it doesn't mean that you just turn the other cheek, and it doesn't mean that you don't stand up for yourself. You have to. To do nothing, to say nothing, you're condoning the actions of others. That doesn't mean you have to march, but what you should do is make the choice. Send your intention out every day, every moment that something comes your way that you're not happy about. Send an intention to change that situation. It will create a sphere of energy, of conscious energy, which is happening already around the world. I know this is somewhat of a review here, but I will tie this into where we're going with the presentation. What's fascinating also is that I move in a lot of different circles. I have been in aerospace for a great deal of time. I have worked with the military on many different levels, in lasers and network security, things like that. What's fascinating is that these guys are actually starting to get it. They really are. And there are quite a few issues within the ranks where they realize that the path we're going can only lead into the destruction of the country and to world war. And they don't want to go there. And there's a lot of pushback. A lot of pushback. They're beginning to pull back the other way. The veterans who have already been through this nonsense, they already know. And they're digging in, and they're getting ready to say no. So this is all very positive. It may not look like it because there's a lot of friction, but it is positive because what we're doing is we're standing up and saying, you know what? Enough is enough. And that is the first step. It really is the first step. That's encouraging to many of the extraterrestrial races who have been sitting up there watching us, who have been visiting the Earth, who have been in underground facilities in the ocean, who have been interacting with humans and having contacts with many different human beings all over the planet. Billy Meyer is not the only one. There are many. They're encouraged because now they feel like they have something to work with. Because whatever they do to intervene, to intercede, it has to empower us. Otherwise, it's futile. If we will not take responsibility for ourselves, for our homes, for our planets, for each other, there's nothing to work with. They're extremely encouraged. So much so that the Andromedan Council has begun discussing mentorship of Earth. And as of right now, there are 4 races who have already signed up. And genetically, they are connected to Earth. Now, genetically connected to Earth means that they have been here in the past. They have probably been some of the gods